Rev up your engines. The brand new Toyota Tundra. This is the twin turbo V6. This is also a hybrid, and it's got about 19,000 miles on it now, and you're gonna find out the truth, not hype. Although people say I'm a Toyota fanboy, watch some of my videos. You'll see that I'm honest about them all. So let's give an honest review of this. Okay, I mean, it's a beautiful looking truck. There's no arguing that. It's 4-wheel drive. And it can tow. It's rated at 12,000 pounds. Yeah, they don't use the V8 engines anymore. A V6 engine with twin turbos and a hybrid boost system. Now, this is the second year they're really mass producing them. The early ones, they had a problem with the turbo. Well, it turns out it wasn't really the turbo. More a wiring problem. You could disconnect the negative cable, or Toyota fixes it with a software upgrade. So, the guys that did take the turbos off, took the cabs off, all that work, they're hidden way down in there, right? They really didn't have to do that. Toyota generally figures things out. When there's a problem, they analyze it, figure out what's wrong, and they fix it. This particular one, I don't expect any turbo problems. He hasn't had any yet, 19,000 miles. Now, the hybrid system is more or less a unique hybrid system. It's not what you see on the other Toyotas. It has a motor between the engine and the transmission. So when the electric motor gives boost, it's giving boost directly to the transmission, and in this case it's 4-wheel drive, and it goes to the transfer case, it goes to whatever wheels you want it to go to. It's more or less a mild hybrid system. It puts out 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. That's strong. And the thing is, they know turbos put out power, but there's always a little bit of lag. Well, that's where the hybrid comes in. Electric motors have no lag. They have pretty much full torque as soon as you turn them on. At 2,600 RPM, the motor itself puts out full torque. So it's putting out torque at a lower RPM. If you saw the video I made in Rhode Island with that Polaris, okay, it was a little vehicle, and it put out 203 horsepower. It put out those horsepower 8,250 RPMs. Now, that sucker was spinning, right? In order to get full power on that thing, you were redlining the vehicle. And the thing got even below teens. Sometimes it get 8-9 miles a gallon, even though it was small, because it was getting it at really high RPMs. This does it at lower RPMs, which is better. Now, being a Toyota, it's got the dual system for the fuel injection. It's got regular port injectors, and it also has GDI injectors, and Toyota's system flips back and forth to make it run the best. And if you see that shiny bit of aluminum down there, okay, there's a cooler there, there's a vent port, there's a cooler here, and on the other side there's a vent port, there's another cooler down in here. Each of the turbos has its own cooler, but it's more than that. Back in the day, guys had turbos, they tell them, don't shut the engine off, let it run to cool everything down. Well, these babies have electric fans, so if you're lazy and you just turn it off and go away, it's got electric fans that can cool it down, even when a vehicle is shut down. So it will cool them up so they won't overheat. Now, like I said, a lot of people complained about problems with turbochargers in the first model year, but that was more or less a minor wiring and software problem, which they figured out. It wasn't actually the turbos themselves. Now it's got 13-inch disc with dual opposed pistons, so it's got great brakes, but as with all Tundras, it's got one downside: the gas hogs. The guy admits it gets 18 miles a gallon pretty much no matter what he does. So, all this technology, they're not phenomenal. It's a big, heavy vehicle. You're not going to get phenomenal gas mileage. It's just like the Dodges that have little hybrid systems on them. But they're gas hogs too. You get a big, heavy truck, it's going to be a gas hog. So, basically, changing it for gas mileage really didn't do all that much. It's more power and design than it is gas mileage, because you can never get good gas mileage in a gigantic vehicle unless you go full electric, and then it's a completely different ball game. You deal with gigantic batteries and infrastructure that doesn't exist. You know, this has plenty of power, doesn't have the lag. Now, they do make them non-hybrid, but in this case, I don't advise it, because you're lagging in horsepower, you're lagging in torque, you're going to strain the engine even more. Realize the big advantage having a motor built right on the flywheel was you're taking a lot of strain off of your engine when you take off from a stop and when you accelerate. That's what strains an engine, when you take off. Well, the electric motor is taking a lot of that brunt, so it can make the engine actually last longer. It shows Toyota's engineers know what they're doing. Let's take the Corollas, right? they have transmissions in those that are CVT transmissions. I'm not a big fan, but they got a launch gear. So they launch on an actual gear. So the strain on the CVT of taking off from 0 to whatever is now done on an actual gear. So they could make the CVT smaller, lighter, and they don't break because the big strain of taking off is done by the actual gear. Well, in this case, you're really better off getting a hybrid, because I had customers that bought these without the hybrid and they complained about the power delivery. They'd be happy if they were getting 18 miles a gallon. I had some of them that were getting 12 miles a gallon with the normal one, not the hybrid. In this case, the hybrid is more of a boost system, and hey, we're going to find out when we take it for a road test, but from what I've seen so far, it works pretty good. Now we'll go to the back seat and we'll see how they're well designed. If you remember the one I did on the Dodge, they hid the battery under the passenger seat. You had to take the passenger seat apart to get to it. Well, guess what? The battery's right in here. Easy to get to, easy to replace, easy to check. Now, to me, that's a big deal, especially it should be to you northern boys and gals, because if you have a plug-in hybrid or a full electric car, they generally put the batteries on the bottom of the car. The salt will destroy them over time. They're not perfectly sealed. They got air gaps. Salt gets in there in the winter and it will destroy them. If you drive slow and are cruising very cautiously, you can run on the battery system. But he said the most it's gone is maybe 5 or 6 miles, but he also warned if you step on the gas, then it'll automatically turn the motor back on demand to make it go down the road. This isn't something for driving around as an electric vehicle. You could use it kind of as a toy to sneak up on your friends when you're fishing the last couple miles or something, you know? But it's not a plug-in hybrid by any stretch of the imagination. It's a big vehicle, it's a small battery. As we go under the truck, and what do we see? Check out the suspension. It is not leaf springs. They've joined the 21st century. They also offer an air ride system that's customizable, various settings. This doesn't have it. As it sits now, it's a $60,000 truck. They've really done a lot of changes that people really don't know about. The main thing that I want to see is how the power works, so let's get it down the road. Okay, let's start her up. Wow, check it out, cool screen. Let's do that over again. I like that screen. Got the 14-inch screen. Man, you can see. This isn't some cheesy little screen. You can actually see what's going on behind. There's the mailbox that I often hit, so we'll go the other direction. It'll be safer. That is one screen, and the definition's unbelievable. Now, the transmission is a 10-speed. We're going to just drive it the way it is, but if you want, you can put it in regular, and then you can shift it up or down if you want. But Toyota makes their own transmission, so I don't expect any problems with them. You can see it wasn't lying. It's getting 18 miles a gallon. It has a tow mode plus. I think it's really well thought out, I gotta say. Sport mode, you can see sport mode. There's many modes. Tow mode, eco mode, but we're gonna do sport. And it has standard brake controller for towing. Seems to handle pretty good in the twisties here. It's gonna make a big difference having that suspension not being just old-fashioned leaf spring. This thing rides so much better than my grandson's 2012 Tundra that just has leaf springs on it. Now we're going along here, and I felt those brakes, man, they felt pretty good. Here we go to our little drag race. We'll see how these twin turbos with a little electric motor boost do. On your mark, get set, go! Smooth shifting. Gets up and goes. But I gotta say, I miss the V8. I miss the sound. And the V8 actually does have, I don't know, rating is rating. To me, it's got more torque. It's got more, throws you back in the seat more. Of course, it's not a 10-speed transmission either, like this one. It'd make a big deal of difference. I mean, you step on the gas, we're going 52. You can see it's going, but not like a V8. I miss the V8. And if you're curious, the hybrid battery is nickel metal. They're not using lithium. It's easier to build. They're not affected by temperature as much. And after all, it's a boost. This isn't a full electric vehicle. All these screens and everything, you can change them around. And if you want to learn about that and more, check out Stephen Welch's channel. He's a big Toyota tech guy. You can learn an awful lot about Toyotas from him. As you can see, so scrolling through, there's all kinds of things that you can change. And you can change all the different meters. You can have transmission temperature, you can have boost pressure, all kinds of stuff. You can do pitch and roll on it if you're doing a little off-roading. It even checks all your lights if you want, automatically. So, what do I think of this 2023 Tundra? I gotta say, it's a very interesting machine. with the hybrid boost on it. It doesn't have the lag that the non-hybrid one does with the twin turbos. I still like the V8, but that's just me. I like V8 engines, and do realize, even with all this technology, including coolers and special louvers and a little air dam on the bottom that comes down, it still only gets 18 miles a gallon. So otherwise, hey, I was impressed by it. I like the 10-speed transmission for the power and the combination of the gas mileage that it does get, because I mean, if you didn't have that 10-speed transmission, you're gonna get a lot worse gas mileage than 18 miles a gallon. Not for you speed freaks, the Governor's out at 107, so it's not a racing truck. And even though it's rated at 19 and 22, he gets 18 no matter what he does. Well, these figures, bleh, and that's not towing anything. You tow anything, the gas mileage is going down, because it does tow 12,000 pounds. And I guarantee you, if you tow 12,000 pounds, you're not even going to get 18 miles a gallon. That's just what it is when you got all that weight. But the torque and the power that it has, I was kind of surprised that it had turbo problems, because Toyota engineers are pretty good. You know, they seem to know what the heck they're doing. But it was just a wiring software problem, and that's fixed, and this one doesn't have any of those problems at all. Now, you know the truth about a brand new Tundra. I would say, if you're thinking about getting one, do this one test. Drive the non-hybrid, then drive the hybrid, then make your decision from then. Me, I'd pick the hybrid. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.